Good afternoon, and thank you for coming today. We know that you are busy. You have another hearing pending right now to get us a rule for tomorrow, and we appreciate it and welcome you here today. Chairperson Slaughter and Ranking Member Dreyer, thank you. And again, we were interested in your statement and your comments, and so it's up to you. Just push that button.
I think. Oh, okay. Not mechanically in the front.
There you go.
Will it stay?
That's why I'm here. That's my role as ranking member, is to keep Mrs. Slaughter's microphone going. Okay.
Isn't it nice to have somebody to do that for you?
Yeah.
I'm a lucky woman.
Dan does it for Brady, I'm sure. Right?
We thank you for the opportunity to appear before the Committee on House Administration in support of the 111th Congress funding request for the Committee on Rules. As you know, the Committee on Rules is responsible for setting the parameters of debate for specific pieces of legislation. It has the unique role of considering the vast majority of complex legislative initiatives before they come to the House floor. Furthermore, the committee maintains jurisdiction over many other issues of critical importance to the ongoing operations of the House. Everything from the opening day's rules package to ensuring the ability of the House to function in times of crisis. In the 110th Congress, Rules Committee meetings increased by 22% over the 109th Congress. And the 111th Congress has already witnessed an increase in activity due to the dire economic environment affecting the country. In January, which is normally a slower legislative period in the House, the Rules Committee held its organizational meeting on the second day of the 111th Congress in anticipation of the upcoming legislative schedule. And during that month, the Rules Committee provided rules providing for the consideration of such significant legislation as TARP, S-CHIP, and economic recovery. We strive to continue to be fully prepared to move an ambitious legislative agenda to the House floor during the 111th Congress. Given the current economic crisis, our committee is committed to doing more with less. The budget we request today asks for a very prudent annual increase of 1.8% from the prior year's budget level. It is a budget that will allow us to fund the daily operations of the committee while still investing in the ongoing efforts to serve the House membership and the public. The modest request reflects an actual increase in dollars per year of less than $65,000. In order to keep the overall budget request prudent and still meet the pressing demands of an ambitious legislative schedule, the committee reallocated funds among accounts. This budget request includes a modest increase in personnel funds necessary to maintain our work output. In addition, our budget request includes a continued investment in modernizing our technology. These efforts have had success thus far, though we still have more to do. And in this Congress, we expect to move forward into the final phases of development of our internal rules database, now renamed the Committee on Rules Electronic Database, or CORE. Mr. Dreyer was a most innovative chair, and he developed a rules amendment tracking system that we have expanded. It now encompasses nearly the entire Rules Committee process, including tracking amendments, recording votes in our hearings, generating documents for distribution to the committee, and for filing on the floor. Still, we require sustained investment in this essential software in order to further integrate CORE into our committee process. The budget reflects the committee's strong desire to shift to a more efficient paperless format, as well as to modernize our technology and public outreach efforts. In the next iteration of CORE, we will make additional improvements to further integrate this program with the technologies that exist within the Office of the Clerk and GPO, and we will take on the task of integrating our internal data with our public website. Our proposed budget continues the Rules Committee's tradition of giving the minority 1/3 of the total staff slots allocated to us, along with control over 1/3 of the committee's salary funds. The other categories represent joint funding. We work with the minority to ensure that the necessary resources are made available to them. In conclusion, I believe this budget carefully and responsibly funds priority accounts while reallocating money to more properly reflect the demands on our committee's resources. Although we would have preferred a greater investment in the Rules Committee to help us accomplish our goals, we have chosen to come before you today to request a modest budget that reflects our commitment to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. Thank you for considering our request, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Ranking Member Dreyer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Lundgren. It's great to be here, and thanks to both of you for your tremendous patience in dealing with all of our colleagues who have been coming before you. I know we were scheduled to be here, I guess, was it 2 weeks ago?
Last week, I think.
Last week, I was in California, I know. Yeah, it was. I wasn't going to be here last week at all. But I will say that, so we were scheduled to be here a couple of weeks ago, so you obviously have been going through a protracted process, and we appreciate very much your patience and your service. I'm here to support the recommendation and proposal offered by Mrs. Slaughter, the distinguished chair of our committee. She has outlined the responsibilities of the Rules Committee. We all know what those consist of. I do want to make a couple of comments. First, I think that we are right behind your committee at the level of our request. 1.8%. I understand that you all are just a little bit below us, and we're not trying to get into a competition with you on us, but we are happy to be doing everything that we can to follow your lead for the reason that Mrs. Slaughter correctly stated. We need to set an example. The American people are hurting. The size and scope and reach of government is, from my perspective, way too big. And if we can set an example by trying to reduce spending, including in our level of funding for committees, I think it's a great example. Now, as I say that, I recognize that we have a very important constitutional responsibility, and we can't in any way abrogate that. And so we do need to have necessary resources. Mrs. Slaughter nicely referred to the fact that we have been able to set an example when it comes to transparency and disclosure, when it comes to putting things online. It's interesting, we did everything that we could with the technological advances that existed at that time, but she's absolutely right in saying that building on that is important. Why? Primarily because, under Moore's Law, we continue to see tremendous improvements in technology, and I think that our ability to get the work of the Rules Committee before our colleagues and the American people is essential, and that's why building on this plan is an appropriate one. She mentioned the two-third, one-third split, and I will say that while we've had a good working relationship on that and plan to continue it, my first choice would have been to have the majority completely comply with the campaign plank that they had that would give a full one-third to the minority as far as management there, which I know was a campaign issue for them. And I'm sorry that that has not been able to be fully implemented, but I will say that we still, with the structure that we do have, work well. We have our two staff directors sitting right behind us now, and they work very closely together on a wide range of issues. As you all know, the Rules Committee can be the most partisan place of all. There is a ratio which I preferred greatly when I was in the majority over the one that I enjoy today in the minority, but that's the way it's been for a long period of time, and I recognize and understand our role and our responsibility there. So I thank you all again very much for your work and for your understanding, and look forward to answering any questions you might have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Lundgren, have any questions?
I would just say that you have one of the most modest requests for an increase of any of the committees, and we do appreciate that given everything we've had. And
is it in fact second only to yours?
No, actually it is, let's see, I think it is third, but actually you're ahead of us. So you should.
Somebody told me at one point
we won't tell all the. Well, this is for the 2-year period.
Oh, okay.
For a 2-year period, because it's a 2-year request. So we thank you. One thing is that.
Can you tell us who's ahead of us?
Well, you really want to know, don't you? Huh?
Yeah.
Well, budget's way ahead of you.
Okay.
Budget's way ahead of everybody, and then we have intelligence, and than I think you folks are. So
We're in the
obviously,
top
some of
three.
those who have some of the most important things to do here are
We
being the
are-
most
we are. We carry
prudent.
a very heavy workload, and I think are indispensable to the running of the House.
And I just noted in the material that you sent to us, it mentioned that the Committee on Rules was first established in 1789 on the second day of the first Congress.
That's right.
Was it the first committee
The oldest
established?
committee in the House.
Well, okay. The Ways and Means,
What's
the Ways and Means Committee, existed in the Continental Congress, and so you can say it was the, yeah, it was
But of the
1789,
Congress
right,
established was the first committee,
right.
composed of committee chairs.
I knew that we would find agreement here.
We always do.
Yeah, with
Well,
the
one of the
9-to-4 ratio,
one of the things we are asking is that in the past, well, a number of years past, we used to give authorization for a single year. Now we do it for a full Congress. But one of the thoughts is that we ought to have committees come back to us after the first year, just to report on how things are going, so we can see how the budgets were
great
actually
idea.
expended and so forth. And we would hope that you would cooperate with us in that
Indeed,
request.
happy to.
Let me just say that I think that that is a fantastic idea, and I believe that what you all are doing here should be a model for the entire federal government. I believe that we should go to a two-year cycle for the budget and do precisely what you said, Mr. Lundgren, actually enhance oversight by virtue of doing that, allowing both the appropriators and authorizers to have a greater chance at that. So I think that the administration committee model should be implemented throughout the entire federal government with a two-year budget process.
Well, I thank you for that strong and enthusiastic endorsement of our ideas, and we appreciate your testimony. You know, Mr. Chairman, sometimes I think maybe we should grant them a larger increase in the budget if they could find some rooms in the Capitol to return to this committee. What do you think?
Oh, I'm not, we're.
Not within our
We don't do
jurisdiction.
those rules. If we did those rules, we'd have more room at the Capitol.
Exactly.
We are really cramped for space.
Thank you.
Everybody is cramped for space. We thought we would
Yeah.
get some new space now with the new visitor center, but
Not yet, have we?
but it's not happening. But I also understand some of the shops may be moving, so who knows? Maybe we can get some more space. But then it's
You gonna
more
go to
cozy
retail over there?
sometimes, like that. It's cozy sometimes. Like
Right.
we can't even move back here Look at that. Without bumping into these lovely ladies, which is not a bad idea. Thank you so much. We appreciate for your
Oh,
time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.